did bring up a interesting name, someone who's very controversial in wrestling, but they're also very knowledgeable and have a long history. Jim Cornette. Now, you didn't get to work with him particularly long, but you did work with him for, was it just one? No, it was more than one taping, wasn't it?
I think it was 2 seasons. I think we
Two
got
se-
2 seasons.
Okay. How was that? How were your interactions with him personally? And you don't necessarily have to talk about the exit, but just your time with him in the NWA.
I have to say, as anybody who listens to one of his many podcasts or anything like that, you understand the encyclopedia that Jim Cornette is when it comes to professional wrestling.
So knowledgeable.
It's super undeniable. And then his amount of recall, I'm super jealous of. The things he's remembered and the experiences that he's had and the expertise that he's had and the different hats that he's worn in pro wrestling, I find so fascinating. And to me, in working with him, he was incredibly generous with his time. He was so fun to work with. He was cracking me up all the time. And even like when we weren't broadcasting, it was one of those things where he was always willing to get an email from me, give me advice, and do things like that. So, Jim's a controversial figure, and so people shouldn't be surprised when he says controversial things because that's what he does. That is the entire essence of what he is. But as far as a broadcast partner and a guy I got to work with, I feel like I learned a lot working with Jim. And I'm honestly very fortunate that I was in that position and I got to do something that at this point, I don't think anyone else is ever going to get a chance to do. It doesn't seem like he has any interest getting back into working in the wrestling industry. So to be a part of that, his big career, small part of as it was, I'm very fortunate of. And yeah, so I feel like I learned a lot from him, and I feel like a lot of people have. He's got 2 big podcasts with hundreds of thousands of listeners. I feel like everybody's learning something from Jim Cornette.
I think it's important to state because again, there is all the controversy, and he does say controversial things, but his career was incredible. The Midnight Express and his work there was next level, and a fun full circle moment. You talked about SmackDown making you a fan. He was the color commentator on the first episode of SmackDown. So
yeah. I mean, how crazy is that? I remember, that's another one of those things where I do remember that episode and laying down on the living room floor and watching that episode. And I just bring it up. That's very interesting that Jim Cornette was the color commentator. And then, fast forward, I'm ended up, sitting next to him calling wrestling. So, wow, what a world.
Very cool.
Life. It's crazy.